From a protester getting his ears blown, to another finding out why you shouldn't stand on a police car. Here are 23 times when roadblock protesters get what they deserve, starting with a protester who thought he was strong, only for the strength to last a few seconds. This climate activist was holding up the road, acting like nothing could faze him, but the BMW driver knew exactly how to shake things up. That's really the best way to talk with them. But at least this guy was able to move away from the noise. The next group of protesters wasn't so lucky. In 2022, 10 environmental activists from the Dernier renovation blocked part of the Paris Ring Road, one of the main roads leading into the city. They wanted the government to take immediate action to stop the climate catastrophe, and this was their way of bringing attention to their cause. As if things weren't serious enough already, they then superglued themselves to the road, making it clear that they won't be leaving until their demands are met. But the people stuck in traffic were getting extremely frustrated, and so Paris police took serious action to get them off the roads.
Sur quoi? Sur ma peau, sur ma santé? On y va. Hop. Ah! Vous voyez, c'est pas trop collé, c'est du goudron. Ça colle pas, monsieur, c'est bon? Solide, hein? Ah! Maman! Ah! Oui. Ah! Ah! C'est super mal! Ah, t'es ouf! Oui. Ah! Y'a rien. Ah! Faut arrêter le cinéma, monsieur. On arrête le cinéma. Allez, pardon. Tu la vois? Oui, vous avez l'air de souffrir. Allez.
Chope les pieds, il faut juste un collègue qui vient de m'aider, la tête prend là.
Just a little inconvenience for people greatly inconveniencing others. Loved when the cop pulled the guy's hand off the asphalt and he cried like a baby. They could have moved out of there, just like this next group of protesters. At an anti-Netanyahu protest in Tel Aviv, pro-Netanyahu motorists weren't able to make their way out with the sea of protesters in their way. Things got a little heated for a minute. But when people didn't get out of his way, the driver decided to clear the traffic on his own. The protest ended quickly after that. That's a civilian. Protesters wouldn't mess with cops the same way, would they? Well, this next group would. In 2020, during a Black Lives Matter protest in Sacramento, demonstrators were blocking part of the main road, not even letting the police cars through. But Sacramento police wouldn't stand for it, even when one guy put himself on the line to keep them from driving. Maybe next time he'll think twice before jumping on top of a cop car. He truly got what he deserved. Serves him right, and I hope he has learned his lesson. This was just the police, but the combination of average people and the police is even worse. These are environmental activists protesting in Paris with a very specific demand. The government commit to a comprehensive and energy-efficient renovation of all buildings by 2040. If they don't, they won't stop ruining the lives of the average person in Paris by doing things like this. But going after the common man doesn't mean everything's going to pan out smoothly. Quite the opposite. The people teamed up with the police. They cleared out the road in seconds. These smug, attention-starved devils turn people away from their cause, and they need to go to jail for a long time. At least here, the police were involved. On the other side of the same road, the motorists took matters all in their own hands. Dernier renovation protesters had attacked all sides of the ring road all at once. But by the time they got to this part of the road, motorists were already sick of them. But here, they were ready. They got out, one after the other, and did what needed to be done.
C'est pas normal, monsieur, c'est pas normal.
Dégagez-moi cette merde! Dégagez-moi cette... Allez, vas-y, avance, avance la voiture! Avance la voiture! Avance la voiture! Allez, vas-y, avance! Avance, avance!
Avance, Toto, aussi, avance aussi, toi. Avance, je filme, toi. Je te passe, monsieur.
Some of the cars didn't even stop for the protesters. They thought they were in the clear until the riot police got there.
Bébert! Debout! Allez, debout, debout! J'ai la main collée au sol. C'est encore pas couronné dessus. On voit petit à petit, on protège les derniers. Là, priorité les gars, là.
They stood no chance. There needs to be mandatory prison sentence for those who do this nonsense. It gives me pleasure, like a therapy, to see drivers fight for their rights to use the road. These people waited for the police to get there. This next group of people didn't even do that. The Just Stop Oil protests are a movement advocating for an end to new fossil fuel projects in the UK to combat climate change and promote renewable energy alternatives. They have been trying to take over London with their protests by blocking off roads, especially during rush hour.
Tube station, we need to send it right now. Right now.
This man had to pick his children up and tried talking to them.
Let me go past. I'm not picking my kids up. Do you understand? Yeah? You're not the police. You're not the fucking. You don't own the fucking road. Go to Westminster Station. Let me go past. It's the last time. I'm not going to hit you on the front.
When that didn't work, he amped up his efforts.
Come on, mate. Move back. You got to hold them back because this is just fucking pathetic. Go to Parliament. Go to Westminster. Whoa, 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 whoa.
So he could go on with his day. Well, if the police won't move them, well done that fella. Bored people looking for a hobby decide to sit on the road, but nothing beats how fast things pick up speed when the cops are involved. These climate change protesters got in the middle of a busy road to stand up for their cause, even trying to block the police vehicles. But the motorists weren't having it. Even the women got involved.
lui, putain, dégage. Je poursuis en justice la partie qui fait une vidéo de moi. Dégage.
Soon after, the cops got there, and it was over for the protesters. They were powerless. I like how their protest accomplished absolutely nothing besides interrupting everyone's daily life. Come try this in America and see what happens. Keep people from getting to work and daycare and flights. It would be your last protest. This might seem aggressive, but that's nothing compared to what happened to this next group of protesters. A 2020 protest against police brutality and racism in Tulsa got out of hand when the protesters gathered and wouldn't let anyone through. This driver had a horse trailer attached to the back of the truck and needed to get past the people, but they wouldn't move. But despite that man giving everyone a warning, things escalated and the driver had to make room on his own. He even pulled up to the troopers lined up down the road.
Troopers, people are shouting to get him. He's pulling over to the troopers.
But seeing the situation, they let him through, no questions asked.
This is exactly what we talked about. This is what we talked about.
Okay, so now people are very, very upset now. People are very upset that the trailer has not been stopped. People are expressing that frustration.
The irony of the protesters hoping the troopers would arrest the driver wasn't lost on the commenters watching all of this unfold. Driver pulls up to trooper. Want my license? Trooper. No, but I would like your autograph. We hate the police. Police help us. Every damn time, lol. If there was no video of this, it would be unbelievable, and this next group of protesters almost lost theirs. These anti-fossil fuels activists had blocked the road for their protest, not letting anyone through. But this truck driver was in a hurry and didn't have time to deal with the inconvenience. So he got out to handle the situation by hitting them where it hurts. No phones, no material for social media. If there are no videos of what they were doing, they can't get the word out about their protests. What do you expect? Ordinary people have had enough of you. No empathy from me. You disrupt good, hardworking people from going about their business. You deserve all that comes your way. That's one man. The next group of protesters were hit with several like him. These climate change activists blocked a road with high-speed traffic without thinking about their safety or that of the other drivers. The people in the cars affected immediately began efforts to try to remove the protesters from the roads.
Poussez-vous. Messieurs, poussez-vous. S'il vous plaît. Monsieur, je suis enceinte. Monsieur, je suis enceinte. Allô, je suis enceinte. Je dois rentrer chez moi, j'ai des enfants. S'il vous plaît, merci. Merci.
Ça sert à quoi ce que vous faites? Ça sert à quoi? Ça sert strictement à rien. Ça sert...
But they were extremely stubborn and kept sitting in place. However, they couldn't stay that way once the police got there.
Nous, on a envie de rentrer chez nous, frère.
Moi j'ai envie de me faire écraser alors vous dégagez. Moi pour ma sécurité, merci. J'ai pas envie de me faire écraser ce soir. Allez, c'est à qui le truc là? C'est à mon collègue là-bas. Vous vous écartez là. Qu'est-ce que vous faites leur connerie là? Vous faites chier là. Allez. Monsieur.
They can sit all they want now in jail. A round of applause for police officers. This is how they always have to react, at least like that. They are fighting against pollution, but they caused a traffic jam. This was expected. This next one was the total opposite of that. During a 2020 Black Lives Matter protest, the people stuck in traffic got increasingly frustrated with the protesters as time went on. But this protester could have never seen this coming.
During the protest, Cubans for Trump supporters drove by in a caravan.
The protester tried to blame the driver for it, but he wasn't arrested, and even the internet couldn't back him up on this one. I'm fortunate enough that I was raised to stay out of the roads. He wasn't run over by a car, he jumped on it. He should have been arrested. And he wasn't the only one getting into this particular situation. And this next driver took a page out of the same book. The driver of this truck was just trying to park in a gated parking lot, only to find the entrance blocked by a human chain of protesters. At first, he asked nicely and hoped they'd get aside, but they didn't. He was left with no choice. Good, stay the hell out of the way, clowns. This driver had no other way through, just like the motorists blocked by this next protest. These protesters thought it would be a good idea to sit in the middle of the roads, but everyone is starting to lose patience with this particular type of protest now. Within the first hour of the protest, they got to experience that lack of patience firsthand.
C'est contre-productif ce que vous faites, ça sert à rien à votre cause, ça dessert votre cause. Mais il n'y a pas de point, t'as sauvé la planète là, dans 2 minutes 30, t'as sauvé la planète. Je fais rien, je te dis, je suis avec mon père.
Non, t'inquiète pas, je peux faire rien. Je vais rien faire.
Passe.
Vas-y, passe. Arrête, sois pas idiot alors.
They tried to fight back and stay on the roads. Only to be thrown off the roads.
Il y en a un qui reste là pour les surveiller.
Ending the protest immediately, just because they messed with the wrong crowd. Exactly, like these next protesters. These Black Lives Matter protesters were going after a police car, thinking they could take it down. But they quickly learned just how wrong they were. They block them and then get mad when they drive off? Are they stupid? They thought they had it rough, but the next group had no idea what was headed their way. These climate activists decided to take part in a sit-in and wouldn't let any cars through. But the motorists weren't having it. When words didn't do it, they had no choice but to get physical. There were a few that the motorists weren't able to get, so they called in some reinforcements. They'll have all the time in the world to sit in jail and think about their plans now. One of these days, something really bad will happen with protesters and the traffic. They should turn their vehicles around and point the exhaust pipes in front of their faces. As intense as the situation had been, the next moments were far worse. Northern New Mexico officials had planned to install a statue of Spanish conquistador Juan de Oñate, who's a controversial figure in local history. The ceremony was swarmed by protesters, and things got heated fairly quickly. But no one expected things would get this far.
Let him go. Got you on film, mother.
Despite how scary it looked, everyone ended up being okay here. We can't say the same about the next protest. These motorists were on their way to work, but the protesters blocked their way, and they weren't happy about it.
I want to walk! No! I want to walk! I want to go to walk! Don't run the top way! Run the top way! I want to go to walk! I want to go to walk! I got kids! Get out of You don't give a You don't give a You mother Get the out of here! We gotta go to work! We gotta go to work! I got kids to feed! We got kids to feed! Man. What are they doing? Nothing! Get the out of here!
They got the cops involved and got the protest wrapped up faster than it began.
Get out of the roadway. Everyone's under arrest. Under arrest. Everyone together. Smith, hold on. Come on back.
Have a seat right here.
Was she with them?
No, she wasn't.
Have a seat, sir.
Hey, where, you know where the wagon is?
Have a seat. Right here.
Can you take Donald's property?
Everyone is under arrest. Those are the words I like to hear. If they thought standing their ground here was risky, the next group found out the hard way. Climate change protesters who block roads tend to claim that they have a blue light policy and will always let the police and emergency vehicles through. But time and time again, they prove that's not actually the case. These protesters weren't getting out of the way, even with an ambulance right there.
He asking if he's waiting to get by. There's a fucking ambulance, you stupid prick. Get out the road.
Everyone, even the paramedics, had to get the protesters out of the way so the ambulance could go through.
It's an ambulance, you're prick. Right, ambulance, man, get through.
If this seems like an isolated example, the next one proves that it definitely wasn't. This Just Stop Oil protest had the entire main road choked up, to the point that an ambulance carrying a patient couldn't make it to the hospital. So this man tried to do something about it. They still wouldn't stop, so they lost all of their protesting merchandise. I hate violence, but these protesters put a rage in me like no other. Blocking emergency services is just disgusting. Just when you thought you'd seen it all, the next protest takes things to a whole other level. These protesters had shut down the I-70 highway as a protest against police brutality, and they wouldn't let anyone go past them. The truck driver in the front couldn't deal with the protest anymore, so he put an end to it in one swift move.
There's a car that's trying to get in. Push it out. Alright, push it. Oh.
Good for that person in the vehicle. Trolt that person had every legal right to drive straight through. Some think only young people can fight back like this, but this next man proved that's not the case. Most people just drag away the protesters to get them out of their way. But this elderly man didn't want to do that. He had a much more efficient idea in mind. He made sure no one was able to get away from his wrath. Next time, they should sit